This is a question on delight. How is it that delight in agreeable sense experiences that are provocative of lust lead to suffering when it clearly gets you immediate pleasure? You know, as I said, it's provocative lust. This leads to suffering. This kind of delighting in sense pleasures that.
Yes, I understand.
But you get immediate pleasure.
You get immediate pleasure.
And does this mean that if an agreeable thing is not provocative of lust, then it is okay to delight in it?
So, giving the immediate pleasure, well, we don't have to really look anywhere further than the often used simile of scratching the itch. You have a skin infection, it hurts, it's not getting better, scratching immediately relieves it. Immediately. But relieves it only because your starting point is pain. So nobody denies that delight and sensuality offers a form of satisfaction. But you need to look at the bigger picture and recognize that, hold on, but it's only satisfaction from what was imposed on me. The pain, the pressure, the necessity to act. So that's not really a satisfaction I should be cultivating, because that satisfaction is increasing that dependence. So the more you scratch, the more will itch, the more you will need to scratch. So the true satisfaction then is to heal your skin condition, whereby there is no itch to begin with. And that's much more peaceful and better, even for the one that still enjoys scratching it. Yeah, it would be better if I'm not sick to begin with, if I'm not addicted to begin with.
So it's like some medicines are like those counter irritants, cream. So you got a pain in your elbow or whatever, you put a cream on it, which it's like menthol, burns, counter irritates that,
masks
that pain.
Yeah,
basically. I don't know, but it doesn't make that pain worse. Whereas this,
increases the infection. Exactly.
Makes it worse.
Exactly, increases your dependence on that. So what was the other question? Should you then, if it's not provocative of lust, should you be delighting?
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be delighting it.
Yes.
So if there is no lust, there will be no delight. There might be still pleasure. So the question should be reformulated, whereby if the pleasure is not provocative of lust or delight, can I be fine with it? Or do I have to also be vigilant? And well, you have to be vigilant one way or the other, but the point is, it's the delight is bound with sensuality. You're delighting at the prospect of relief.
So usually one wants to know, how do you know the difference? How can you really know? Is this pleasure that I'm experiencing, the sense object that I'm experiencing, is pleasurable? Is it okay to experience it?
So you can know the difference by recognizing, as I said, that you don't start from a neutral position. It's not like you're not affected by craving for more pleasure as means of escaping pain. And it's not like your position is this clear perspective from which you can clearly see pleasure of sensuality and pleasure of non-sensuality. So in the beginning, pretty much everything will be infected with your craving and your delight and need to scratch. So the way to see the difference is to restrain that first, to not act out of it. Then within that, you get to recognize the nuances of, oh, hold on, but actually this pleasure is not does not lead to increasing of the thirst, increasing of possession and gaining and activity and stuff. It's just for what it is. So then, and that's exactly what the Buddha was saying in the suttas as well. Like in the beginning, he himself had to renounce the pleasures. Had to say, no, this leads to suffering. But then, within that, hold on. Actually, why am I fearing these other pleasures? Pleasures of renunciation. I don't need to fear that. But initially, he wasn't sure whether he should fear that as well. Because your position is not neutral in the beginning. So you have to start, because you've been going one way only before. Now you have to start going the other way. completely. And then within that, you recognize, okay, I don't need to go as far. But if you want to predetermine that before you start walking that path of restraint and renunciation to whatever degree, if you want to predetermine it and make sense out of it and like intellectually clarify all the facets of it before you do it, that's impossible. Logic cannot, reason cannot access that, in a sense that reason alone cannot access that, in a sense that you need to actually be living it and practicing it as a mode of choice. They would then reveal the new field for your reason to develop insight into. Oh yeah, that's the pleasure of renunciation, that's the pleasure of sensuality. But that choice, if you don't cultivate those right choices of renunciation, those fields will not become apparent. So you'll be thinking about your ideas that are already on the basis of sensuality, your ideas of renunciation, your ideas of the differences that are on the basis very much of your current sensual being.
It's about only by practicing that renunciation, be able to tell you start really being able to tell the difference between what is sensual. You're able to see what sensual is, highlighting that basically. What is provocative of thirst? What is increasing you?
That will be clearer and clearer. Yeah.
And that which doesn't increase your suffering, saying that would be clear as well.
Eventually, yeah. Like the reference of what increases suffering or not cannot be necessarily trusted to begin with, because abstaining from it will increase your suffering.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly why people don't do it, because, well, look, isn't Dhamma supposed to be free me from suffering? But I suffer more. Well, yes, you need to suffer more initially. But it's more like just if you commit to the renunciation and purification of the behavior, the difference between the pleasure that's kind of undermining you with that pressure and thirst for more, and it's kind of basically taking its own momentum if you give into, and then you're just going to be a puppet to serve the fulfillment of it. You can't stop once you start. You'll know, oh, that should not be even entertained mentally. But then you realize there is other pleasure, there's other agreeabilities that do not possess that same quality. And it's like, okay, I'll be careful in case it becomes that, but it's not. And that's often people, so I shouldn't go for a walk or this or that because it's sensual. It's like, well, again, is it something that you won't be able to sleep over? Obsessing your mind, provocative of lust, inducing the thirst, inducing the fear, anxiety. If you get it, if you don't, it's not. So yes, there might be traces of your craving, but you have bigger fish to fry now. Develop the impeccable restraint in regard to things that are factually full on sensuality, ill will, desire that revolves around it. When that would have been purified, that layer, okay, now deal with these subtler ones of how you eat, why you eat, and all of that. Because yes, there's going to be some traces of it, but it's not. You can't be, as I said before, purifying the gold with like a pair of finest tweezers, picking up the slightest little impurities from the melted liquid, while the thing is still like swimming in feces and stuff. So it's a pointless task. You gotta remove the coarse impurities first, and then you'll see what the next step is.